everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is Bonni Cohen, Perdro Kos, and Jon Shenk, directors of the White House Effect. Thank you all so much for joining me.
Thanks for having
Thanks,
us.
Brittany. Good to be here.
It is good to have you. The White House Effect is characterized as showing the origin story of what's now described as climate change. So, to start off the conversation, why did you think now was the time to go back to square one and really tell this story from the beginning?
Pedro, John, and I have done a lot of work in the climate film space, and we have collaborated on wonderful films. And we were talking just before during the pandemic about what could be done, what could be done next, what's really needed so that we could better, as Americans, understand how we got where we are now, where there's this political divide over what is seemingly just a scientific issue, right, that we can all agree on. And we discovered that back in the late 80s, there was this moment during the Bush senior administration when the science was in, there was political will. In other words, there was a Republican candidate running on behalf of the environment as an environmental candidate, and the American people were open to hearing and listening to that and thinking about what sacrifices might need to be made to help solve it. And we thought, oh, that would be, that would be so interesting to go back and find this historical capsule of time where we could look at a moment in American history when the climate crisis was not a political issue. And that felt like an opportunity. And so we started, I'll let the others continue with the story, but that was kind of like the origin story of our getting to the origin story.
So we set about making an all archival film. We're documentary filmmakers, and it was all we could do, but we did not pick up a camera or a microphone for this film. We went back and we collected thousands and thousands of archival pieces, and we let kind of history play out in real time. It's almost like watching a political thriller when you watch this film, because you're watching things as they come out in the news, as they're recorded in the Oval Office. We went to the Bush Senior Library and found footage that had never been released to the public. We went to the archives of Exxon and found old reels that had never been transferred to digital. It really is a special film in that regard. And what you see is this kind of time lapse in history where you watch a character drama play out where President George Herbert Walker Bush in the center, with an angel on one shoulder, his EPA administrator Bill Riley, and his chief of staff on the other, trying to convince him to do kind of the right thing for the environment, and one trying to convince him that it'll be terrible for the American economy if he does so. There is a piece of tape that we found where the title comes from, in 1988, where George Bush says to the American public, "I am the Republican environmental candidate. If you are afraid of the greenhouse effect, just you've forgotten about the White House effect. When I get into office, I will solve the greenhouse effect. It's not a conservative issue. It's not a liberal issue. It's an issue for all of humanity." And that really kind of is the essence of where the film comes from.
Exactly. And I'll just add that one of the fascinating things about, as John said, like fast forwarding through time, is not only the political drama, but it's seeing the evolution of the American public, um, in a way that we go from 1988, when the science was not politicized, it was not a political issue, to the point that we're radio hosts in Iowa were calling it a mom and pop issue. It's an apple pie issue that everyone wanted. There'll be no difficulty in getting for the president to get behind. To Everyone wanted to tackle this. Everyone wanted to solve the greenhouse effect. And that's 1988, and just 4 years later, you have a population that is completely split and divided. And we were really fascinated by that. We wanted to understand why, how we got there, right? And so a lot of the journey of the film and our kind of North Star was sort of not only understanding the behind the scenes of the politics, but how the evolution of the American public, the public opinion evolved.